Hi everyone, this is a brief video introduction to Unit 3 for 6800. We're moving now from the Lieberman and Friedrich text we looked at for our first couple of weeks, which focus primarily at the individual level. The early chapter there starting off with one's identity, and then the later chapters looking at collaboration, reflection, professional learning, conflict, which involve other people but still generally start from the self and how the self interacts with others. On our second text, Michael Fullan's Leading a Culture of Change, we do two things. We look less at leadership from any position or organization towards the responsibilities of those in positions of formal authorities, what we traditionally would speak of as leaders. And while Fullan certainly recognizes the role for leadership to come from everywhere in an organization, he also recognizes a special place for those who have formal leadership roles, and that I think is really the audience for this book. And so we're beginning to broaden our scope a little bit from less individual focused to more organizational focused. And when we end up with our Bowman and Deal text at the end of the class, that looks purely at full organizations. Here in Fullan, we're sort of in the middle place between how individuals and organizations interact, with sort of equal weight given to both. So in this week, we're looking really at two documents. We're looking at the first couple chapters of Fullan, which gives an overview of his model, and the first in-depth section of his 5 pie pieces there, which looks at moral purpose, which I think is particularly important, particularly given some of the ways the federal and state governments have begun to dictate what counts in education, and where does Fullan's question of moral purpose fit into that. Is that something that is built into what the states have given us? Is that something that schools need to add on? Is it something where schools need to reject pieces of what the state is offering? So I think there's different schools of thought on that. You're also looking at Barth's piece on standards-based reform. While sometimes I think it's a little bit silly to give a bunch of teachers a reading on standards-based reform because they know it, it's the world in which we live, it's the air we breathe. But I think it contrasts as a model of change somewhat dramatically with Fullan's model. And so I feel like it's good to at least have that as a touchstone, although I imagine a lot of what's in the Barth reading is not going to be new information for folks, but I think it serves as a nice counterpoint to what we see in Fullan, which is a little more human relationship, transformational model of change. So in your discussions, you'll be talking about models of change, contrasting standards-based reform, Fullan's model. I also asked that in your first field experience you're conducting this week, you're interviewing a leader or principal on the experience of change they've had. What are other models or other takes or other iterations of perhaps standards-based reform or Fullan's model that you've seen in practice? And so I'm asking you both to reflect on the readings and also to perhaps add to what we've been presented in terms of models of change. There's certainly more out there than those two readings would have us believe. So in your post this week, make sure that you're discussing your first field experience, your interview with the change process, and reflecting on those two readings. And be also aware that we have a number of field experiences that are structured coming up in the next couple weeks, and so you'll want to stay on top of those as you are budgeting your time and make sure that those field experiences which need to get scheduled are getting done. Also, now that we're having field experiences begin to be due, if you're having trouble locating a school to conduct them, please get in touch with me as soon as possible by email so that I can help you out and make sure that everyone's getting plenty of time to get those scheduled. All right, I'll see you all online, and I look forward to speaking with you all on the Fullan model of change.